Mary Ryan, 544 Victory Highway, Mapleville, Rhode Island. So I actually had the pleasure of having a conversation at length with David Place, and I'm making this as a public comment. Some of you know, I know Mr. Wood was very, very involved 16 years ago. But I understand that if, Mr. Place said that you have all received some threats, death threats, and I have to tell you I'm sorry for that. If that came from anywhere in the community, I don't know how accurate it is or not. But I just am saying that to you because I sincerely, last night I attended the Rhode Island Department of Health hearing. And I saw 4 people, 3 of whom I recognized from my, working on the side from the Department of Health that were there delegated to listen. And I realized that, there's like a lot of hostility, and there's a lot of anger, and there's a lot of fear, and the fear is not unfounded. And you're the face, you represent the face that likely unknowing to most of you, that betrayed many of the people 16 years ago. And I explained that to David. I'm absolutely astounded at how far this has gone. This is insanity. I understand that there's been $175,000 in legal fees, if that's accurate information, paid by the town of Burrillville. I understand there's been far more than $100,000 in, consulting fees that have been paid, and I don't know, some of it, I think you explained that some of it's been reimbursed with the $100,000 from Invenergy. I read the application. I read Invenergy's application that was submitted, and I was astounded at what I saw. They represented that that they met with the Department of Health, and that they met with the Department of Environmental Management, and that the Department of Health supported them in their endeavor to address this. And I was pretty taken aback. I also became privy to a document that, and I don't know, I assume that you have all seen this, so I'm kind of walking in cold, but it said something like CREC, and inside of it looks like almost it was a PowerPoint presentation from some time back in December of 2015. Within the framework of that document, it references, it talks about, approvals that Invenergy has to get, right? And I don't know if you've seen it. Have anybody seen, what I'm referring to? Yeah? Okay. There's a piece in there that talks about approvals, like necessary approvals in order to get, this through. One of them referenced a, quote, consent order from the Department of Health, and they said in that particular document anyway that it was dated January 15th. And what I was astounded by is that, followed by that reference to the consent order by the health department, it quoted from another order, a court order that I obtained with a number of residents, which was separate and apart from that consent order. And they also inserted their language. They changed the language of the court order. So when I read this application, and I also have spoken to, I can tell you last night when I spoke to some of the individuals from the Department of Health, they were absolutely shocked that Invenergy represented that there was support from the Department of Health. And they were unaware that a position has been taken by the Department of Health. Shocked, like truly shocked. Innocent people, just like most or all of you. And so I suggested to David, so in my opinion, and I'm asking you as a, or commenting, I suppose, that for the good and the welfare of the town, that I understand you were talking about the tax treaty and being concerned about, wanting to get the most out of these people. The bottom line is, there is a Superior Court order that Burrillville was not a party to, that was entered on January 28th, 2002. And it was after a hearing and the finding that the individuals that appeared suffered irreparable harm, including myself. And I am absolutely befuddled and horrified by the fact that the Invenergy has represented in this application that A, it was in conformance with this, consent order from the Department of Health, which has absolutely nothing to do with the Superior Court order. It's never even been addressed. So if, you're wondering why you haven't seen me before this, in the last couple of months, it's because I was a plaintiff in that order. And so when people were telling me that they were going to open the wells, which they identified in this application, that they were going to reactivate them, that it was going to be happening by this fall or by June of 2017. I'm like, when did this happen? And so I don't know how much most of you know about even any of this happening, because you weren't here. Most of you, I know you were here. You were certainly on the water, right? So you remember the sickness that happened. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not making this up.
No, you're right.
I'm not fabricating. I can tell you I lost my business. I can tell you that, when this water touched me, my arm, like a drop of this water, and, Nancy, you may remember people experiencing this, it bubbled, immediately, bubbled up within open sores, and I explained some of the health effects that happened that I witnessed last night to the health department, because that's the appropriate time and place to do that. So I'm just fascinated. I'm not going to ask you this question because I don't think it'll be appropriate, but I guess I'm astounded that the town of Burrillville has spent, I don't know, is it safe to say $300,000 at this point on consultants? Is that accurate? I mean, maybe $100,000. Is $175,000? Okay. The state of Rhode Island, I promise, between the EFSB, all meeting together. I can tell you that the DEM, I know that they have been working very, very hard. There's been multiple parties involved, across the board. I can see that the Department of Health, and I know now that they're working on it. But I'm saying, people, we're a community. And when all is said and done, these people from Chicago are going to come and go. They don't care about us. And I observed last time, 16 years ago, that the PUD betrayed, and I'm saying this for the good and welfare because I think a lot of you all, I know you have a tough time. I haven't always agreed with some of you, but in the end, you folks are here to act, carry out what we're asking. And 16 years ago, you have to wonder in your head as a town council person why I felt compelled to go to court to get an order to shut these wells down. Because common sense, right? Doesn't this seem like a no-brainer that it should have been immediately closed down at that moment? But it didn't happen. It was later disclosed, and I didn't know at the time. And when I came to the town of Burrillville, I remember Louis Blywise over there sitting right where, you guys are right now. And he had blisters all over his body. And I was like, why aren't you helping? What's going on? What's going on, people? So I'm asking the same question now. I'm saying, These people, all they want from you, they don't want legal crap. I understand all of the legalistic stuff. I do get that, and I get it. But the bottom line is from a human perspective. They're begging. They don't trust any of this process. And it's created a situation where they don't trust you. They don't trust any of you. And the reason why they don't trust any of you is because you haven't spoken out. I know that you people care. I get it. But they need to know that because they're scared. Because you know what? They were like kids who had skin falling off of their bodies. They were men and women bleeding from places they shouldn't be bleeding from. There were 10 of us that went to court to have these wells shut down. There's only 6 of us left. 3 of the 4 people who have passed away were results from the water, for symptoms that were caused by the water. And this company comes in, and the PUD, and I don't know, and I'm not going to accuse anybody, but as far as I can see, you were meeting with these people last year. Is that right? Did I miss that?
Well, you're talking about the tax trees, sure.
No, anything. I mean, the tax treaty, I don't even know why it was even discussed. I'm talking about, were you meeting with these people?
Of course he was meeting with them. I mean, our state rep brought this company to the town. He had to meet with them.
Okay.
He had to.
Can I just
We
say-
can't ignore it when a company like this is coming into town. You said you don't want to deal with the legalese crap or whatever you said. That's important. What we're doing is important. The legal process is critically important. The process that what you're asking us right now, we've said it 1,000 times. We are not going to give an opinion so that our boards can render an opinion that is free of bias from this council. At that point, we are free to speak.
And that's okay, and
I lived in Pasco when you were there in Pasco. My children were drinking the water.
I understand that, so you understand.
Of course I understand, but you're sitting here accusing the manager and this town council.
Anybody.
Well, then what are you saying then?
I'm asking, here's what I'm telling you. I'm asking this question, and please don't defend, because don't. Okay, I'm asking a question. I am not targeting Mr. Wood. I'm asking him a direct question. I don't know why you're laughing.
Because
I'm asking you this. Listen, I really mean this.
Of course you do.
Because you knew how many years ago there was a court order. So I don't know about any of you, but I can tell you that Mr. Wood knew, right, that there was a superior court order that closed the wells down, right?
Nobody's disputing the order or the result of the order.
Kim.
I'm just confused what the bridge is between what we're talking
Yeah,
about right
I
now
am
and the money
too.
that was spent in going before the EFSB.
Okay, here's the nexus, okay? Okay, I'm going to accept what you say. I'm going to accept what you're saying is truth. I have no reason to not believe you. So KLP, was that who you're referring to?
Yeah.
Or
In December 14, when the company was brought to this town, we could not ignore it.
Okay, that's fair. But what I'm going to ask, or I'm going to say, I'm going to present, all right? And I'm being sincere with all of you. You know I love this town. You know I love my state.
So don't we. So
And I'm
don't
going to
we.
accept that, okay? I believe that. That's the point, Tom. Most of these people don't. They're scared because they understand. They went through this all over, and they can't wrap their heads around, and this is what I can't wrap my head around, because I didn't know you met with these people. I had no idea until, honestly, just in the last few days.
excuse me?
I have never known, and I'm just
What
telling
are you
this.
talking about? I do the normal thing I do in any
Okay.
business that comes into town.
Okay,
So does my staff.
that's great.
That's the extent of any meetings we had with the company.
Here's what
That's the extent of
That's
the
right.
meetings we had with the company.
Okay.
Anything that's normal with the business coming into the community, we had some meetings with them about normal routine things, and that was the end of it.
And so,
That was the extent
here's
of
the
it.
nexus, Kim. This is what I'm trying to articulate, all right? It has everything to do with the cost. It has everything to do with the fear that you're experiencing here. It has everything to do with the division. When that took place, and this person came here, I'm not understanding, because I know you knew. I don't know what they knew and they didn't know. I know you knew that there was a well that was shut down and that there was a court order that closed it. And that it couldn't possibly be opened unless Invenergy, whoever wanted, or the PUD even do better, that they had to go to a superior court and get it open before anybody could talk about anything.
What does that have to do
But
with?
what the point are you making? We weren't proposing to them to open up 3 and 3A. There was no
Don,
discussions of that.
I'm not talking about that. I'm trying to articulate that had that been addressed from day one, there would be no application. You wouldn't have spent $175,000. You wouldn't have spent all of this money. These people wouldn't be terrified because they're scared. You're scared.
First of all, we don't control the wells at 3 and 3A. PUD does. And
No,
even if-
no, you know who, no, can I explain this to you? No. Yes, I agree with you. The PUD does, that's right. You are so on the money. And I believe they're the culprit. I get it. My point is why did it get this far? Didn't
Because the town manager can't tell them not to come to this
They
town
would've
because of
filed their
3 and
application
3A.
No matter what.
Yeah.
They
They
were
probably studied
going,
that site years ago. They do like a feasibility study to identify sites in the US.
Okay,
I'm
so
sure
then
this
what I
was well
will,
thought out on their part, but we certainly didn't have any ability to stop them from filing an application with the EFSB
no, you didn't.
or to apply before
No, you
ISO
didn't, but
auction
what I
for the
can-
capacity.
No, but then what I can say to you, everything you're saying, I understand. What I'm saying to you is then, will you please include that? Because that's pretty big. The fact of the matter is, you all know, if you didn't know now, I mean, you know now, there's a court order. And the town of Burrillville understands that there's a court order and that those wells can't possibly be opened. That's like an
you know,
issue.
without getting into the conversation with you, the Pasco Utility District knows there's a court order. Invenergy knows there's a court order. My understanding is they gotta go to court to resolve the issue one way or the other. We have nothing to do with that. Neither do I, neither have I ever had anything to do with it. Other than whatever I did with a normal business would come into town is what I did with them or anybody
And what
else.
would that be?
Meet with them if they want to talk about sewer or other options, the zoning, the planning meets with them. Those are the things that we normally do for any business. So that's what we did when they came into town, which is not abnormal, not abnormal.
And in a company like this, with the money they have, you can't ignore them and pretend like they're going to go away if you just say, oh, we're not going to meet with you, or we're not going to do it. You have to pay attention.
No, how about go to the court and find out, because you have to try to... I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
It's Invenergy's project. If they want to use those wells, they need to clear up the roadblock to do it. It's not my responsibility, nor did I ever suggest to them to do A, B, or C. They went to Pasco Utility District, which is where they should have gone. They go to the fire districts where they should have gone. They went to the people they thought they had to go to get their project moving in a positive direction. Other than doing the normal administrative thing, that's all we do. That's all I did, or my staff did.
Okay, so then can I please ask all of you to tell these people where you're going and what you're doing as soon as you possibly can, because we don't want to wait till the last minute, because they're afraid, and they've had to go through a process that should have been unnecessary.
I think, Mrs. Ryan, we've sort of indicated this evening that Mrs. Delpic, when she brought up the subject, we indicated that once the advisory opinions are in from planning and zoning, that the council will be making their own advisory statement
Okay.
at
Quite
that
frankly, I
time.
think they're shooting themselves in the foot, quite frankly. I think Invenergy's defeating themselves. They haven't done the things they need to do. Some of the things you say have to be done, they haven't done. So you know what? If the project fails, they are their own responsibility.
And I think that these people just need some comfort, because because what Invenergy has presented, whether true or not, right? They've said it. And so they've created a situation where people are fearful of the process because they don't trust it, because they're saying, hey, we met with the DOH and they said this is good.
Look, I'm not going to keep engaging this, but the thing that everybody has to understand is, if this project's going to be defeated, if that's what this council decides, it's got to be defeated at the EFSB hearings. All the things we're doing now will give us the ammunition and the information we need to present to support our case. All the things you said have been dealt with and will be dealt with. All the things that have been raised by the public over the months and months have been addressed and have been thrown into the basket, so to speak. It's our job to take all of that, use our experts, use our attorneys, and turn it into a prosecution of the case when we get the opportunity to do it. And that's what we're doing, and that's what we've been doing right from the beginning.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
All
Ryan.
right.